so that you learn who you are and that you feel safe and protected. Amen. But moreover, third point, families are designed for equipping and for learning. We transmit values through family. We transmit identity through family. We transmit history through family. You come what it means to be African American. You learn your culture through your family. And when we look at the issues that we struggle with as a community, you can trace it all back to the breakdown of hallelujah, family. That's why I appreciated growing up in a household where the aunts and uncles used to let the kids hover around the kitchen. Because a lot of what I learned hovering around the kitchen. The conversations that would happen when families would get together and you would overhear their conversations. That's why it's important to engage and gather as a family no matter what your family looks like. Because there are certain things that your kids don't need to learn in school. They don't need to hear it first in the classroom. They need to learn about right relationships from you. They need to learn about what it means to live in the world from you. They need to learn how to conduct themselves from their family. I used to get so angry with my mother because she was so strict and I couldn't understand it. And I thought she must hate me. I can't go nowhere. Can't go to the mall, can't go to the dance. Can't go nowhere. But what I didn't understand was what she was trying to do was to instill in me some values and some understanding that I wasn't going to learn anywhere else. I was like, Mom, why were you so hard? Because now my mother's struggling with Alzheimer's, but she's not fully gone yet, so in certain conversations I still can't have. Because she'll come back to sanity real quick and say, what did you say? I tell you, dementia is something else, because she will come in and out of that thing. So I have to pick which day I'm going to ask her what. But I asked her, I said, Mom, why were you so strict? And she said to me, I had to teach you what it means to be obedient. Because I can't protect you if you don't listen. And I would rather have you in my house being obedient to me than have to watch OPD tell you to stop and you don't stop. And have to plan your funeral. Because if you don't obey in your house, then you will not obey in society. And so I can't wait till you get in society and step back and look and say what happened. No, you need to start when they're 2 and 3 and 4. Because family is meant to transmit values. But I was challenged in even looking at this text because I'm an honest person. And I know sometimes things don't work out as planned. Because some of us have been damaged in our families. Some of us have been wounded by our families. Some of us, the people who were supposed to love us and care for us and tend to us, are the people that we actually fear. So I said, God, you're going to have to help me. Because you said we're supposed to be strengthening our families. So you're going to have to give me something. How is it do I remain connected and remain committed and keep working with a family who may not want to work with me? How do I continue remaining committed and working with a family who doesn't respect my lifestyle? Who doesn't understand who I am or what I've been called to do? But then God began dealing with me with Genesis. And this man named Abraham. And it doesn't really begin in 14, it begins in chapter 12. Because the Bible says that after listing the genealogy that God told Abram, he said, get thee from Haran. He said, take you and your family. Leave your father's house, leave all of your relatives, and go to a place I will show you. Because I've come to know that sometimes if you really want to make something better, you got to back up from it. That there comes a point in time when that family unit is good, but sometimes when God is trying to use you, you got to step away from it to find out what God's greater purpose is. You're too close to the situation. So the Bible says Abraham, being obedient, took his family, And he started off towards Canaan. But then the Bible says he had a nephew whose father had died, which was Abraham's brother, who went along with him. Now, it doesn't say that he was invited. It doesn't say God said, bring him with you. It says Abraham went and Lot went with him. Bible says that it got to the point while they were on their way that strife began to develop in between Lot and Abraham. And here's what messed me up. It wasn't strife because things were so hard. The Bible says that they had strife because things were so good. That Abraham was so rich and wealthy, and because Lot was connected to Abraham, he became rich and wealthy, that they could no longer dwell in the same place. Mess me up. Because I would think if you're living good and I'm living good, that we should all be able to celebrate and live good together. But sometimes living good can blind you to what's really important in life. Sometimes families gathered more when we didn't have anything. When you had to go to somebody else's house because they had the one turkey that could feed everybody, and you would make the potato salad and your auntie would make the drink. You needed one another. But sometimes when God blesses you, you act like you don't need anybody. The Bible says it got to the point where Abram said, you know what, I don't want to fight no more. He said, so all of this vast land, take your pick. Wherever you go, I'm going in the opposite direction. The Bible says Lot looked and picked what he thought was the richest, most fertile part of the land. Him and all of his herdsmen went to that part of the land. Abram and his herdsmen went the other way. Everything was fine. Now they're living separate. Abram is doing his thing. Lot is doing his thing. Let's put it like this. Lot is now living in Brentwood. And Abram took his people and went to Hayward. He left his daddy and everybody else in East Oakland. Y'all get it now? Because sometimes you got to bring it. But see, here's the thing about family. No matter how far away you move, no matter how often you stay in contact or you don't, God has placed a connection on the inside that can't be broken by distance. So the Bible says Lot realized that he couldn't get along with his uncle, moved to Brentwood. But the Bible says little did he know that the Brentwood City Council was feud with the people in San Ramon and Pleasanton. So the Bible says in beginning chapter 14 that where Lot moved, those kings were getting ready to wage war. Because they were living under captivity, having to pay money and didn't feel like paying anymore. So little did he know it looked good on the outside, but he had moved into the middle of a war zone. That even though it was a single family dwelling home with 5 bedrooms and a 2-car garage, that war was all around it. Because everything that looks good on the outside ain't good on the inside. Sometimes it's better when you stick together. So the Bible says they waged war and the enemy captured Lot, captured his entire family, and captured all of his goods. Messed me up. Because you would think Abram would have said that's what he did. He made his bed. He need to lie in it. You know we got cousins like that. Family members like that. Every time they call, they want something. They never call to say, how are you doing? What's going on with you? Are you okay? But sooner or later, it's small talk. And then they hit you in the back end. I was just wondering. Can you let me hold $50? Do you know anybody who has ever just held 50. Let me just hold $50 till I get paid. And somehow you give it to him and you never get to hold it back. Mess me up. Because Abram had a right to leave Lot exactly where he was. He said, I'm your uncle, I'm the elder. I brought you along with me and I didn't have to. You're blessed because I'm blessed. You're not even my responsibility. But I brought you along anyway, and then you get me out and start strife with me, and now you in trouble. Can mess you up. But you got to be careful and make sure that the wounds that have been inflicted by your family doesn't cause you to keep from letting God use you to be a blessing when the opportunity comes. So the Bible says, when Abram heard that his relative had been taken captive, not when he saw it, but the Bible says God let somebody escape.
Yes, he did.
And ran and told Abram, your nephew was in trouble.
Yes.
That he's been captured. Somebody, when he heard about it, the Bible says he gathered all of his 318 men. First point, because when you family for real, whether you're family in the spirit, whether it's your church family, whether it's your blood family, whether it's your friends, because many of our friends are like family, when you are family for real, you have to be willing to take a chance on somebody else. The Bible says when he heard about it, that he couldn't even sleep that night. It messed me up. Because some of us got family members we ain't talked to in years. We hear that they're on drugs. We hear that they're struggling. We hear that they're unemployed. And we go on like we ain't heard nothing. But you never know that perhaps God brought that information to your attention so that he could use you for his glory in that person's life. The blessing is not in helping somebody who thinks they need it or who think they can say thank you. The blessing is being able to help somebody if they never tell you thank you. Because I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because God did it for me. That when I was unable to care for myself, God had mercy on me. The Bible says while we were yet sinners, he didn't require us to get cleaned up or to get straightened up or to learn how to act right. While we were yet sinners, he made provision for us. Because when you family for real, you take a chance. I used to watch my mother because my family was one of the families affected by the crack epidemic. And so my mother was a grandmother who was raising her grandchildren. 6 of them. All in our household. And I would get so angry because my mother would go out in the middle of the night because their mother was crack addicted, and she was walking up and down the streets of MacArthur Boulevard. And my mother would get up at 1 and 2 in the morning and say, Jackie, watch the kids. I gotta go find so-and-so. And I was angry because it was dangerous for my mother. Why are you getting up, walking up and down MacArthur Boulevard behind somebody that don't even belong to you? And she was concerned, you know everything we go through. And my mother said, Jackie, you don't understand and I don't expect you to. She said, but I'm doing for her what I would want somebody to do for you. Because but for the grace of God, there go I. So it doesn't matter whether or not it's your blood son or your blood daughter. If it's anybody's son, if it's anybody's